All right, everybody. So, welcome back for yet another Funcom rant video. And I know I discussed stacking a bit in the previous one. If you have not watched the previous one, I suggest you go watch it and then watch part two, or you can watch part two and then part one. I did discuss stacking quite a bit in that one, but I wanted to touch on stacking a bit more. Not in the sense of stacking just being removed and to rant about stacking as a whole. It's more so Funcom in a whole, not just stacking. And what else I'd like to discuss in this video, the whole reason I wanted to make a part two was actually about the server transfers, the server mergers that's going on, the server closure. I wanted to touch on that. I was actually going to make the rant video about that. So I received a comment on my first rant video from CodeMage, and he said, yeah, that bit about how Funcom said stacking is okay, here's the link. I touched on this in my video that I had heard Funcom say that, they turned a blind eye to stacking. They did not say it was an offense. It was not bannable. That they gave it was more so a nudge towards the community that it's okay to stack. Now, the post that he linked, and I'll finish reading his comment because I do agree with what he's saying here. If you ever decide to make another version of the video, feel free to include that. And seeing how Funcom community managers always seem to have enough time to aggressively call what they don't want on the forums, but never enough time to properly engage with the community in a sustained dialogue or to remove toxicity from some of their favorite forum members, I'll be taking a screenshot of the linked post just in case it magically disappears. Surprisingly, even when I do search for stacking related topics, you don't find as much as you would think. And what's funny about this, as we jump into this post is dated for October of 2020, and stacking just recently got a patch. Now, this post shows you a lot of how long this has been going on, and it has been going on longer than 2020. This is just a good, it's a good marker to, analyze, because Funcom was aware of these building mechanics for quite some time. And instead of, like I said in the first video, reallocating some sources, funds, workers, whatever it may be to fix the code, to actually work on this issue and fix it, this is what we get. Hi, at Rolo. To be clear regarding this matter, this is currently not considered an exploit, bug, nor something our team may act upon in the form of an infraction report. The developers are aware of this, however, and should there be an opportunity to revise the building system, it will definitely be considered. This post is 2 years old, and that wording right there is that blind eye I spoke of. And thank you for CodeMage for actually providing this. This isn't the one I was actually looking for. I swear it was a video I saw it in where someone actually contacted Funcom themselves, and it was in a ticket. I don't know where that video is. I don't even remember if it was a video or a screenshot I saw. I wish I would have saved it at the time. But I remember Funcom's response to it was very similar to what this community manager is saying. But if you take a note of, the developers are aware of this. So they've been aware of this for years. They're not blind to what's going on their servers. But now all of a sudden, stacking is, degrading server performance. Now, while I can agree excessive stacking will do that, I have played on plenty of unofficial servers where I had stacking to a degree that was probably too much, and I didn't lag that much. What made me lag was the amount of thralls and pets we had at the end of the day. It wasn't my actual stacking. But this adds to my point in the first video, where you knew this was an issue. You should address this issue as a game developer, and not just a game developer, but a business. Because at the end of the day, it's a business and they want to make money. You make money by keeping your community happy. Now, in the defense of a developer or even a business, everyone has opinions. Everyone has things they'd like to see changed and done and stuff like that. And people can be, very opinionated on these things and, be very demanding about it. And I feel for a company in that situation. You know, say a bug arises with a new update, and then you've got those people making tons of videos on a bug. And I'm talking in general, any game, you know, you could put any game into this topic. And people just start blowing up about these bugs. They don't even give them time to fix it. And usually these bugs are fixed in relatively a timely manner. They usually are. They're usually addressed. Now, stacking, on the other hand, was not addressed for years, and it was widely used. I mean, since stacking has been around for years and they were aware of it, but they could not take the time to address it, is absolutely absurd from a business standpoint and a developer standpoint as well. I thought this was kind of relevant to it as well, because one clarification before that: foundation stacking is not an intended mechanic of the game, but an exploit of the building system. We have fixed previous methods to achieve this, but there's still some methods working. They are not easy to fix and can cause previously built structures to be destroyed, which is why the current methods have not been fixed. This is dated back in August of 21. So you can see in 2 years, you know, the 2 years ago, their standpoint on stacking was, we don't have any plans to, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, it's not an intended mechanic of the game, and now it's an exploit of the building system. It took them a while to actually, you know, really start calling it an exploit and start to say it's bannable. To be clear regarding this matter, this is currently not considered an exploit, bug, nor something our team may act upon in the form of an infraction report. That was 2 years ago, like I said, and this one that we're seeing is from 2021. So you can see they drastically changed their stance on it. But if you're going to tell me right here, they are not an easy fix and can cause previously built structure, which is why the current methods have not been fixed. Uh-huh. Okay. So they're not easy to fix. I can agree with that. You know, that's probably a lot to do. What I cannot agree with is the fact that you have had ample amount of time to figure out solutions and workarounds that would actually, you know, properly benefit your building system in your game. And what we got was literally a botched job of the current stacking fix. So I'm not a little code junkie and stuff like that, so I can't give you the exact details on what they've done or why I consider it a botched job, but I will try to explain it the best I can in the simplest form. Is when you have a fence foundation, the previous stacking just allowed continuous stacking of the fence foundations very close and neat. Now, when you try to place a fence foundation close, it's as if there is a bubble around the fence foundation, and the code is now saying, okay, this is too close, you cannot place that. But the reason my other stacking videos do exist and do work is because if they were actually to extend that forward and backwards of the fence foundation, it would then in turn cause issues with other building pieces, which is why I say this is a botched job. All right, so we're going to move on part 2 of the video, which is what I originally wanted to get into with the trimming of official servers, which was posted on Monday, February 14th. If any of you have read this, and first off, you know, let's discuss the 731 of you who gave this a thumbs up. I'm making sure my thumb is down. I'll explain why. And I hope this gets through to you. Maybe you read this and you didn't really pick up on these subtle hints, but they're there, and this is hilarious. This is literal gold. Comedy gold at that. Let me start off with this. Greeting, Exiles. Conan Exiles had a year of solid growth in 2021. And with what's on the horizon, we're very excited about 2022 too! Exclamation. However, before we get to all the exciting new stuff, we have some house cleaning to do. we need to reduce the number of official PC and PlayStation servers. Right there is just enough subtlety to it. You had a great year of solid growth, maybe financially, maybe a lot of people were buying DLCs because of SIPTA and whatnot. I don't know. But and then you need to reduce the number of official servers. But you just said you had solid growth. I would think growth would lead to more servers, right? Logically, not closures. But anyways, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of it, and on the screen I will just post the image so I don't have to scroll back and forth and annoy you. What about the future? This is at the very end of it. The shift toward private servers in games and a more customized game experiences. Customized game experiences, okay. Is expected to continue, but we also expect Conan Exiles to continue to grow. How exactly that will pan out over the next year and beyond is hard to predict. Do you guys get what I'm getting at here? It's possible we will do more closures in the future. It's also entirely possible we will need to open new servers! Exclamation mark again. This we will have to come back to sometime after that exciting stuff we can't say more about just yet. Huh? I just found this funny because it's the ending statement of this post and then the beginning statement talking about it having a solid growth, a year of solid growth in 2021. If you're reading this, you can almost assume and jump to conclusions that they don't know what's going on with their own game. Because it's possible we'll close more servers. It's entirely possible we'll open more servers. We have no idea. Like, am I the only one that actually read this properly, or huh? But anyways, we're gonna get into the server merger list. So we'll head over to the browser real quick because I'm not going to screenshot all this nonsense. And I'm just going to scroll through this so you can see all the servers. And mind you, the source server, destination server. Okay, so if you're curious, if you didn't read this yet. But just look at all these servers. Look at them all. Look at all these servers that are going to be closing and merging into another. Yep. From my standpoint right here, it sure does look like your game had solid growth in 2021. Because that right there, the closure of all those servers, if I was going to be an investor into your studio and saw that, I'd be wondering. Provided if you were talking of investing in a company, you would get actual proper analytics and stuff that you could read, stuff that we are not blessed with from a company, so we can actually, see this actual growth that they speak of. But from a person that plays the game like me, we could obviously it would be in safe for us to assume that this doesn't exactly look too promising for the future of your game. Anyways, we'll read why they're doing this. The goal with the official servers is to provide easy access to exciting gameplay in Conan Exiles through meeting and interacting with other players, whether there is PvP or more friendly encounters. On these servers, traveling across the exiled lands or the Isle of Sipta should include encounters with other players and their creations, whether a massive fortress or our beloved default 2x2 hut near the river. First off, those people that are building 2x2s, this is not Rust. You should at least have a 4x4. Like, come on. There's more room. The benches are pretty big in the game. We all know that. Like, a 4x4 is just a starter. People that are making little 2x2s, they're not going to usually get very far if they're building on Noob River. No offense. But did you notice the part of whether a massive fortress? I'm pretty sure. Now, call me crazy, but people that have massive fortresses on PvP have actually been getting banned. But, you know, I don't think you're going to be encountering many massive fortresses because literally all you have to do is, you know, make yourself a nice little ticket to FUNCOM about a base and give it some time and see what happens, apparently. It's fun stuff out there. Both with early access in 2017 and when Conan Exiles launched back in 2018, official servers filled to the brim. Then players found their preferred play hours and server population stabilized at a healthy level. A healthy level, you say? Okay. The same happened with the Isle of Sipta servers when the expansion launched last year. Sorry for the silence. I actually left the silence in there instead of cutting it out. I just needed a moment to process that, as I hope you guys took one as well. Your game has been out since 2017, and your population based off of another game like Rust or Ark Survival Evolved, who do share similar time frames with age, Rust being the oldest, Ark being out before Conan, and then Conan being the new kid on the block. Your game statistically on PC is suffering. And I guess I could argue on PlayStation it's suffering as well, since PC and PlayStation servers are being reduced and closed. But I find the wording here and server population stabilized at a healthy level. What is this healthy level? What is it? What are the statistics we're looking at that gauge this healthy level? These are details that I'd like to know. I'd like to know these analytics, from Funcom. I'd like some transparency on this and understanding. But official servers have their limitations. We have more than 1,000 of them across the different platforms, regions, modes, and now maps. To keep this manageable, we run all of them with default settings. Many players seek a different experience with regards to gathering and XP rates, purges, player limits, ETA, blah, blah, of course, on PC, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you one thing about PvP on the unofficial scene. We don't like mods. We don't like mods. I'll explain why we don't like mods. The mod loading system for Conan is complete trash. It's another thing that should have been worked on and revamped entirely. The fact that when you run mods, it restarts your game with the mods, and you have to do this every time, then if you crash, blah, 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 it's a lot of fun. My girlfriend and I both don't like how it works, and I know a lot of other people don't either. It's a tedious experience. You go to join the server, you subscribe to the mods, and then it closes your game and reboots it with the mods, and it's a whole process. I feel like that should be something that's tweaked, and then maybe mods would be, a bit better. A bit better for that situation. I don't know. That's just a personal thing. I don't. It seems like they want their game to be ran more on private servers than they actually want to run their own game, so they don't have to take care of it and they can just cash in on DLCs. I don't know, maybe I'm just reaching. Over the years, and even over the few months since Isle of Sipta launched, we have seen a continuous shift toward player-run servers and solo/co-op play. While activity in the game is higher than ever outside of those crazy release months, several official servers see few players online during any given week. Less than a handful of players on a server doesn't provide the experience they were created for, especially when a server is essentially someone's solo game. Hence why we will consolidate onto fewer servers. Ay, ay, ay. Here they go again with activity is higher than ever. Higher than ever. This is about the third statement I think we've seen from them saying that Conan had a solid growth in 2021. Then the players found their preferred play hours and server population stabilized at a healthy level. And it's like all this wording right here that we're getting is them trying to act like their game is thriving and doing amazing. And personally, it's not. It's really not. Because it's kind of say you play on one of these dead servers and you've just accumulated an abundance of stuff like the little hoarders we are on survival games. And then you read this. Perhaps most importantly, we will not just shut off the power to servers and leave it at that. When a server is shut down, we will transfer all characters, active or not, to another server along with everything in their inventory. I don't know about you, but if I was playing a game for, quite some time, months, years, and they told me that all I could take was what I could fit in my inventory, I'd go uninstall the game and never touch it again. I really would. I'm so glad that I never invested a lot of time onto official. I'm glad I stick with unofficial and I get regular wipes. Wipes keep it fresh. It's fun. I also love the grind in Conan. I like that build up. I like the uh faster rates and things to get done. It's more of a fun experience for me, and it always has been on survival games. But here's we'll finish this for you. This transfer is not subject to the no encumbrance rule, which applies to free transfers. Wow, how generous of you. However, transferred characters logged in at the starting area, so bring something to help you carry. I'm sure a lot of you out there have actually filled your inventory and realized, well, can't pick up anything else. I'm sorry. I am sorry for any of you that are listening to this right now, and this may apply to you where your server is being merged into another one and you have to actually pick through what you want to take. Because I'm going to assume you cannot just go up to everything in your base and press F and you're going to be able to take every last bit of it because there is a slot cap in your inventory. And from what I'm reading here, it does not say anything about being able to have more in your inventory. It just says the no encumbrance rule. That's wow. If you've been on a server for a few months, you're not going to be able to take one tenth of all that you could possibly own, let alone your thralls and pets. No constructions will be transferred. We realize this is not optimal. The main concern is that there can be a building in the same spot on the destination server already, especially on the popular PvP server base spots. Another is that this would complicate the database merge operation significantly. Let me phrase this for you easily. We are lazy, and while we could take the time to actually transfer servers to servers where buildings could exist and coexist because nothing is there, we are not going to take that time to go through the database and actually make these proper mergers. We're going to do it the easy way. Grab all the crap you can, you're going to a new home, you're evicted. Players on a server which is closing will be notified ahead of time, message of the day, and we will also provide a list of servers and dates here as they are decided on. Now, if any of you have more information on this, please feel free to drop it in the comments, but I am pretty positive that you're still going to be subject with a slot cap in your inventory, meaning you can only grab and fill your inventory with so many items, regardless of being max encumbrance. It's just how the game mechanic works. When I have to move bases, if I start in a certain area on a server and then I end up moving to a new base location, it usually takes me multiple trips to take all of that loot to a new destination. You're not going to be able to do that in this situation, right? Or are they going to allow you to go back there? No. If you try to join one of these servers right now that are being merged, you're not allowed to join them. So, I don't know how this works. Maybe there's more information on it. All they have posted here is the free transfers, but so I don't know if there is any information on this currently. I doubt there is. I'm pretty sure that you can just take whatever you can fit in your inventory, and that's all you're going to be able to take of your base. All your pets and thralls are going to be destroyed once you get transferred, and the server is going to shut down. I think that's a bunch of that's a real big slap into the face that of people that have played on these servers. A lot of these servers at one point did have population. Okay, they just don't have the population now. And this was like the server transfer was a precursor of this to happen. I kind of figured it was. There's no reason to add server transfers. I kind of it's another reason I don't like official is because of the server transfer system. I remember when it first came out, all the bugs and exploits with it were ridiculous, and they were even affecting unofficial servers at the time that they were disabled, and on most unofficial servers they remain disabled because of these issues. This doesn't seem like a company that has actually had solid growth with their game. The fact that they're going to do this to quite a few players, because if there's 1,000 servers being shut down, now I'm not saying there's one person on every server, but let's just imagine one person plays on these servers and they have accumulated a lot of stuff, built a lot of neat stuff. They're going to lose basically everything. And that's a big impact that it could have on multiple people. Some of these servers that I looked into had 2, 3, 4, 5 people. If there was 5 people on each of these servers, that's 5,000 people right there from 1,000 servers. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to upset. But I guess you don't care. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The whole transfer system, like I discussed, it's ridiculous. I don't think it should have existed in the first place. It made the way it's set up shouldn't exist. It doesn't make sense. I understand the logic behind it to a degree, but when you've played, say, a game like Ark Survival Evolved, where you can transfer in and out of servers, have multiple bases on servers and stuff like that, and Ark's population still has, tons of people, whereas Conan doesn't. When they first announced server transfers, I thought in the back of my head that they were going to be doing something like these closures, because it kind of, well, it would make sense. They're putting the mechanic into play, they're testing it out, they're letting the community test it out. So I feel like this was always the path they were going. And we might not have known that at the time, but they had always planned to shut down a lot of servers, because these servers do cost money, and this will save them a lot of money. And I don't think they care that it might upset a lot of people in the community that do play on these servers and don't want to transfer out, because you cannot transfer out successfully. This is not Ark Survival Evolved, where you can move all your dinos, your entire base, everything you own to a new server. You cannot do that on a PvP standpoint. And when you do transfer out, you lose ownership of your base. It decays. So if you're solo, it's gone. It's just going to sit there until someone comes along and decays it. Or, like, my head is just spinning in circles right now with how ridiculous the server transfers are. They should have put more time into them, but I feel like they were just implemented into the game, honestly, so they could transfer people off of these servers with low population, so they could save money in the long run. My heart goes out to any of you that are going to be affected by this and have to say goodbye to all that time you now wasted, because it is literally wasted time. So make some videos of stuff you've done, take some screenshots, because you're going to lose most of it. My point here to get across in these videos is the transparency, the lack of transparency with Funcom to its community. Even from that comment from CodeMage, he is a active member in the forums and community, and he even can make these valid points himself, and he even did in the comment he posted on my video. It just seems like, the community managers and the devs of this game, they should be listening to their community a bit more on a lot of these things. Of course, there are things that I think, the community want and don't really need or deserve. You know how people are. We all have opinions. And even this video is a lot of my opinions, and I hope maybe some of you even share these opinions. And if you don't, feel free to drop it in the comments, disagree with me, share your side of it. Just from my standpoint, on a PvP side of things, especially a PvP side of things, Funcom does not care about the PvP side of things. They would just be much happier if the PvP community went to unofficial servers and they didn't even have to run official PvP servers. It's kind of it's kind of what I pick up on from reading all this and going over it over and over, and just hearing the ridiculous wording, solid growth, we need to close servers, we don't know if our game's going to grow, we might have to open more servers, we might have to close more servers. Their wording's all over the place. They can't tell us anything about this exciting news. You would think you would want to release some of the information on this exciting stuff to come to give people some hope and anticipation for the game. And in my personal opinion, I do feel like Conan is a game that is suffering when it comes to population. I do not know how well it is actually doing on the Xbox side of things. I might look into that for myself and even discuss that in a video in the future. But regardless, originally the hype for this game was on PC when it was released, and I have had high hopes for this game for many years. I do feel like it has a lot of potential. I just feel like Funcom has not actually wanted to take the time to make this a game that is worth a lot of people's time, which is why a lot of people don't play it. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed in this game that I think could help population. One of the biggest things is actually the grind in the game. I enjoy the grind in the game, but for new players, it can be extremely overwhelming. And if you are into PvP and you think, hey, this looks like a fun, barbaric, brutal game, it is brutal, but not necessarily in the sense of combat, more in the sense of what you are going to have to deal with, because to get to end game will take you some time as a new player. And if you're on a server with a 10-man clan that is just zerging out and there's not much you can do about it, and you will constantly have to rebuild and constantly grind just so you're giving it to someone else. So you're basically working for someone else because it's extremely hard to get up and running in the game. I think that, turns a lot of people off to the PvP side of things. With my experience on official, every day I logged on, I was raided. It didn't matter where I built, where I hid, my base would get raided. How I would survive was literally just building a little shack and carrying my loot on me with max encumbrance and moving from location to location just to try to survive these bigger clans. It's not a friendly game to smaller groups. I'm surprised that Funcom has never actually released servers for maybe smaller populations, duos, trios, quads, even a solo server might be a lot of fun for people. There's lots of things they could have done. They could have even converted some of these servers they're shutting down to some experimental server runs and see how well they do, and maybe rebalance some settings and things here and there. There's lots of things they could do. And to me personally, instead of, discussing with the community and actually listening to the community on things they have wanted for a long time that actually make a lot of sense, they're just doing things the way they want rather than, caring about the player base. And the player base is what makes your company when you release games. We play your game. We are the people you want to keep happy. We are the people that pay for your DLCs and your content, and you should take that into consideration, and it should mean a lot to you. your company's name is FUNCOM, and a lot of it doesn't seem that fun. It just seems more like GreedCom, in my opinion, because they will continue to release DLCs, and even their DLCs can come out buggy, with a recent one where the anti-climb didn't even work properly and people were able to climb right over it. These are minor things that should not exist if you actually took the time to properly test your products before even releasing them to the player base. These oversights that continuously happen with their game have been a constant and regular thing with Funcom, and it will never cease to amaze me that these bugs don't get addressed, and they are made very aware of them, especially on the forums and by people even making tickets, and they still exist in the game today. So when I see Funcom releasing a statement that it will no longer rain inside your base, my heart breaks a little bit that that was a concern of something that needed to be fixed when all these other issues still exist, and even some of these issues that existed at launch are still in the game. It does not look good from my standpoint as a company. If I was a third party looking into this, it just doesn't look like a good business model to follow. I hope in the years to come, Conan can actually thrive and go places. I really would love to see the unofficial scene of things continue, but the problem is a lot of people that run unofficial servers end up getting frustrated with Funcom's game because there's not much you can do with it when you can't fix these things yourself. And these bugs and issues do persist on unofficial servers, and you can't get rid of them. The biggest thing was when server transfers came out. Server transfers broke a lot of servers. The fact that cheaters are in high abundance on Conan, and this has not been properly addressed, has also killed the player base. It is slowly going to kill the game. Cheaters can exist in PvP and PvE and do these things, and they need to be addressed properly. I did touch on the server transfer. When the server transfer came out, there were a lot of bugs and exploits with it, and people took full advantage of this, and it can still be taken advantage of. These are bugs. These are things that should be addressed, and while I want to be optimistic and think that, okay, if you're going to close down all these servers, I would hope that maybe you'll put some more time and effort and even maybe money into the servers that you currently have to make them a better place to play, and to help redesign your building system to a degree that, lag is not as bad. Even some of the placeables that they have with these DLCs in an abundance, they cause lag. You continuously release these things that cause issues in your game without actually fixing your game. I think they should take a step back and stop worrying about DLCs and income right now, and focus more on some TLC for their game, and maybe make it a more enjoyable experience for all the players and new players to come. These are just my opinions and thoughts. If you guys would like to share any of yours in the comments, please feel free to. I appreciate you listening to my rambling. If you're not subscribed and you are interested in more Conan content and videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.